was a child, an uncle asked what gift I wanted for my name day. I begged him for one of you. It wouldn't even have to be a big dragon, I told him. It could be little, like me. Everyone laughed, like it was the funniest thing they'd ever heard. And my father told me the last dragon had died a century ago. I cried myself to sleep that night.
Kicking things off, we have my personal favorite dragon, and that is Caraxes, also known as the Blood Wyrm, for that deep red color of his. Now, Caraxes is a really, really interesting dragon. He's big, he's mean, he's angry, and I have a feeling it's going to be a lot of fun seeing that play out on screen. Caraxes will most likely be one of the heavier fan favorites of the show. I'm guessing he is going to be Matt Smith's Daemon Targaryen's dragon that we're going to see on the show. And I have a feeling that duo is going to be really, really fun to see. They're definitely going to be fan favorites, like I said. And it's going to be fun to see that play out over the course of the few seasons that this show lasts, which hopefully it does. Caraxes was first claimed by Aemon Targaryen in 72 AC. And the Dragon Keepers of the Dragon Pit said that he was the fiercest of the young dragons at the time. So he really kind of, lives up to his name and his reputation for being big and mean ever since he was a pup, as it were. He was extremely formidable in battle, probably one of the most experienced Targaryen dragons in battle, next to the original three being Balerion, Vhagar, and Caraxes. Caraxes saw a ton of action between the wars in the Stepstones that him and Daemon fought, and even before that, when he was first claimed by his first rider, Aemon, when they went up against the Dornish in the fourth of the Dornish Wars, which took place in around 83 AC. Then, in 92 AC, Aemon took Caraxes into battle again when a group of rogue Meermen invaded the island of Tarth. But, unfortunately, Aemon ended up taking a crossbow bolt to the neck when Caraxes was off eating a herd of goats, apparently. So that ended the reign of Caraxes and Aemon as dragon and dragon rider. Up until a few years later in 105 AC, when a young Daemon Targaryen, who was Aemon's nephew, ended up claiming Caraxes for his own. And they really became my personal favorite duo in terms of dragon and dragon rider. Daemon and Caraxes do a lot of badass stuff between everything that they do in the War of the Stepstones from 106 AC to about 115 AC. Then everything that he does during the Dance of the Dragons with Caraxes, which I don't want to spoil too much with the show coming up, but you got a lot of good action to look forward to with Daemon and Caraxes, and it's going to be really, really fun to see. Up next we have Vhagar, aka the She-Dragon. Vhagar was born in 52 AC on Dragonstone and was the mount of Queen Visenya Targaryen, wife and sister to Aegon the Conqueror. Vhagar and Visenya played a big role in Aegon's conquest of Westeros. Along with their other sister, Rhaenys, they managed to capture 6 of the 7 kingdoms, with the exception of Dorne, who managed to resist Aegon and his dragons using very slick guerrilla warfare tactics. Although we don't get official description of Vhagar in the books, an artist that George R.R. Martin commissioned for the 2021 Song of Ice and Fire calendar asked for clarification, and George replied that Vhagar was bronze with greenish-blue highlights and bright green eyes. Originally the smallest of Aegon's 3 dragons, Vhagar would go on to almost be as big as Balerion the Black Dread. After Visenya passed, Vhagar had 2 other riders in the ensuing years in Balon Targaryen, then Laena Velaryon, before being claimed by a 10-year-old Aemon Targaryen in 120 AC. The 2 would go on to fight many key battles during the Dance of the Dragons, including the initial battle that kicks the entire dance off, which is going to be epic to see on screen, along with many other battles that Vhagar and Aemon will be involved in during the show. Up next, at number 3, we have Sunfyre the Golden. Sunfyre was hatched on Dragonstone, and while we don't know the exact date of his birth, he's described as being a young dragon in 120 AC. Sunfyre has gleaming gold scales with pink wing membranes. His flame was also said to be golden, and he was known to be the most beautiful of all of the Targaryen dragons. Sunfyre was the mount of Aegon II and was often referred to as King Aegon's glory during his reign. Aegon changed the three-headed dragon sigil from red to gold to honor Sunfyre. Sunfyre was also described as huge, heavy, and formidable in battle despite his youth. During the Dance of the Dragons, Aegon would ride Sunfyre into battle above Rook's Rest in 129 AC, one of the major battles that takes place during the dance. I don't want to go into too much detail as it's pretty spoily, but rest assured we can look forward to many oh crap moments involving Sunfyre during House of the Dragon. Up next at number 4, we have Meleys, aka the Red Queen. Meleys was claimed in 87 AC by Princess Rhaenys Targaryen. She had scarlet scales and pink membranes on her wings, and her horns and claws were said to be bright as copper. 75 AC, Meleys was considered to be one of the swiftest dragons in Westeros, easily outpacing other dragons like Caraxes and Vhagar. By 129 AC, however, Meleys had grown lazy, but was still fearsome when roused. Meleys was old, cunning, and no stranger to battle. When the Dance of the Dragons begun, Rhaenys and Meleys flew to Rook's Rest and took part in one of the bloodiest battles during the war, when Sir Criston Cole of the Kingsguard led an army to attack the city. Overall, Meleys and Rhaenys were definitely considered to be one of the most experienced duos of dragon and dragon rider in all of A Song of Ice and Fire. Last but certainly not least, we have Balerion the Black Dread. Now, I know at the start of the story, Balerion the Black Dread is already going to have been passed away, and we do see his skull in the trailer, which looks awesome, by the way. But part of me is still holding on to a little bit of hope that maybe, just maybe, we might see a real live-action Balerion in a flashback. I know me personally and many other fans would probably love to see the final flight of Balerion when he's first claimed by Viserys the First Targaryen. Seeing something like that would be really, really cool in live action, but I know it's a long shot. Balerion was the biggest and most famous of all the Targaryen dragons. He was born in and around 114 BC in Old Valyria, and was one of only 5 dragons to escape the doom of Valyria, when Aenar Targaryen left the freehold and sold his holdings and headed for the small island of Dragonstone. Balerion was said to have black scales and black wings, and even his fire was black with swirls of red. His wingspan was said to be so large that it would engulf entire towns as he flew overhead. His flames burned so hot, in fact, to the point where he could melt steel, stone, and even fuse sand into glass. His teeth were as long as swords, and he was said to be big enough to swallow an entire mammoth whole. Aegon the Conqueror would go on to use Balerion to great effect during the conquest of Westeros, most notably during the Field of Fire, where Aegon and Balerion destroyed scores of Lannister and Gardener forces, and during the destruction of Harrenhal, when Aegon and Balerion destroyed the largest castle in Westeros belonging to Harren the Black. After Aegon's death in 37 AC, Balerion would go on to have a few different riders up until the point of his death in 94 AC, during the reign of King Jaehaerys I. Balerion was 200 years old when he passed in his sleep. And there we have it, folks. A list of my top 5 dragons I'm looking forward to seeing on House of the Dragon. And that's just barely scratching the surface of all the dragons we'll meet during the span of the show. We've got over a dozen more dragons to look forward to seeing on screen on top of these, so I would love to hear what your top 5 dragons are. Definitely let me know in the comments section below. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell for notifications for all of the upcoming House of the Dragon content. We will be doing live weekly review and discussion streams when the show airs, so definitely be on the lookout for that. And thanks everybody for watching. We will see you on the next one.